Join the OurGame Supporters Club at Patreon for €5 per month to get audio podcasts of the Hurling and Football Show and much more exclusive material. Okay, now we're going to look at the top 10 hurlers. Chris Neville said TJ Reid 1, Kyle Hayes 2, Keane Lynch, Tony Kelly, Jason Ford, Joe Canning, Bubbles Dwyer, Donald Burke. He kind of left it at 8 players. Right, let's get straight into it. Has anything changed in terms of our top 10? Was it Tony Kelly, TJ...
Tony Kelly, TJ, Seamus Callanan, Dahi Burke, Sean Finn, Joe Canning, Patrick Horgan, Keane Lynch, Garrod Hegarty, Pádraig Mannion. The big thing, Shane, is Kyle Hayes, you'd imagine, would probably have to come into the conversation a lot more than he did the last day.
Yeah, he didn't really come into the conversation. But I wonder, that game against Tipperary, was he brilliant for 70 minutes, or did he just score one of the greatest goals of all time? And that's the only thing. A bit like if you play a game as a wing back and you catch 2 balls, you mightn't have done feck all for the rest of the game, but all anyone remembers is the great catches you did. So it kind of papers over any cracks there may or may not have been. Like, I thought Michael Breen did a great job in him for the most part.
No, he did, yeah. No, in fairness. But, the goal against Cork, the goal against Tip, and the threat that he now poses to opposition teams.
Man of the match in an All-Ireland final a couple of years ago in a different position.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has to go in here, doesn't he, somewhere?
I think he does have to go in. It'll probably be at the lower end of the 10, if I'm being honest, because you can't just be that overreactionary to say, oh, Kyle Hayes wasn't in top 10, has to be in at number 2 or number 3. I don't think you can stand over that. I do see the top 10 changing, but I don't think we're not going ripping it up or anything. My opinions on, Dahi Burke or Sean Finn haven't changed massively, or Joe Canning haven't changed, to the extent where they're going to just fall out of the top 10, as a result of, 1 or 2 games that we've seen. But I definitely think probably Seamus Callanan does need to drop down from number 3. I don't think there's any way we can have him at number 3 at this moment in time.
And I think Joe Canning probably has to drop too, because we were kind of, when we did the show the last time, we said, well, look, I think the Waterford game in the league showed that he's kind of back on form. Forget about last season, which wasn't his best season. He's back on form and he'll hit the ground running in this championship. But he was very poor against Dublin, probably his worst ever game for the county. So I think he's going to have to drop down. I think Austin Gleeson has to be in the conversation at this point.
Okay, just quickly there. Who are the bolters since the last day? Just even write down a short list. Kyle Hayes is definitely a bolter. Austin Gleeson, you'd say, probably would be a bolter as well. Does any Dublin player come into the equation?
Owen O'Donnell. I know he got injured the last day, but I don't think we had, he was brilliant in the semi-final against Galway. He got injured the last day. But to me, he's the best fullback in the country, and that includes Dahi Burke.
Oh, I don't know if he's better than Dahi Burke, but
he doesn't have as good of players around him.
He definitely is. He definitely is in the conversation. The thing I'll say as well about players that come in here, I think players that are in the top 10 almost have to be bulletproof. You shouldn't be able to really pick any holes, be it pace. You shouldn't be able to say, oh, well, he's caught for pace, or he can't do X, Y, and Z. They should be nearly bulletproof, and I think that's maybe what we need to be. That's probably what we need to have settled on, players that other teams won't be able to exploit really in any way.
If it needs to be found, I'll get a video of Owen O'Donnell burying the ball into the top corner for Whitehall Colm Kill when he was playing centre forward a couple of years ago. The man can hurl. He mightn't have the same glorious, classy striking style as other lads, but he's forceful in every which way. So I will be pushing hard for him to go in. But 1 or 2 are going to drop out. Now, first off, does Tony Kelly stay at number 1? The last day he was held scoreless, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he drops off the top spot.
Yeah, no, I'd still be happy enough with Kelly at number 1. He was obviously brilliant against Waterford the first day out. He got 1-1 against Tip, albeit was quiet enough. You have to remember he's getting extra attention that a lot of other players maybe are not getting. He was relatively quiet the other day, but still did some very good things. I don't think he's played 3 games this year. He's probably been an average of probably 7.2 or 7.3 over the course of those 3 games. I still think he's been he's been consistently class.
Yeah, look, I can't really argue that point, but I would say Keane Lynch has made a fair old play to be number 1 here. We had him at number 8 the last day. We're a disgrace for only having him at number 8. I think he maybe comes in at number 1.
No, I think it's too much. I think it's too much of a jump, to be honest with you.
Is he Limerick's greatest ever player?
Is he better than Kieran? Is he better than his uncle Kieran Carey? Better than Gary Kirby? Better than Joe McKenna, who won 5 All-Stars, I think, at full forward? Better than Eamon Cregan? I think that's a bit much now at this stage.
Okay, greatest 21st century player.
Yeah.
They've had some very good players, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I don't think there's no one jumping off the page at me. Like they're all stars.
Shaughnessy was brilliant there for a number of years. Ollie Moran was excellent for a few years.
Yeah, Ollie Moran was an all-star. Richie McCarthy was an all-star during that time. Probably of the 21st century. So he's the best. He's the best of this crew at the moment, anyway. So he definitely needs to come up much higher in the conversation. All right, I personally wouldn't have him at 1.
Okay, so like people out there, get your comments in. I think we're looking at number 1 at the moment. I mean, I'm pushing Keane Lynch for number 1. Tony Kelly, I'm pushing for number 1. TJ Reid's in that conversation. Anyone else come in that conversation? Who do you think among those 3? So you're still going TK number 1?
I'm still going TK number 1, yeah.
Yeah, I think what he's done against the odds in a team like Kilkenny have been winning more championships and winning more championship matches in the last couple of years. So I think the fact that Clare in general have been at a lower ebb overall, got to the semi-final in 2018. I'm going with TK number 1, but Keane Lynch is a huge reason that Limerick have become so dominant.
Yeah, Keane Lynch is coming into probably the top 3, realistically, I would say.
Yeah, and why would you put TJ Reid ahead of him?
Because he's he's still doing it with a team that is not of the same ability as Limerick. He doesn't have the same players around him as Keane Lynch has around him. Now, in fairness to Lynch, he makes that whole Limerick engine tick. But I would still have TJ ahead of him just for probably his greater in many ways the greater versatility in the things that he can do for a team. Particularly, I know he was kind of snuffed out in the air by Paddy Smith, particularly in the last 15 or 20 minutes of the Leinster final. But just, the balls that he can win when they need to be won. The fact that, like, I'd put it this way: could Limerick win an All-Ireland without Keane Lynch?
I'll put it to you this way: can Kilkenny win an All-Ireland? Because they'll have to beat Keane Lynch along the way.
Yeah, but Kilkenny would not have a snowball's chance in hell of winning an All-Ireland without TJ Reid. Like he's not carrying them maybe to the same extent, but he is still carrying a massive load for them. Like I've no issue. I don't have too much issue with TJ or Keane Lynch 2 or 3 for either. I would I would still keep my top 2 the same, and I'm not one for having a massive overreaction to what we've seen just over the last month. It's not as if TJ Reid has been atrocious, far from it. I think he hit 4 or 5 from play against Wexford, and his nerveless penalty against Dublin killed off the game the other day as well.
Well, it's not like Keane Lynch has only been doing it for a couple of months either, though. Like he has been doing it for 6 or 7 years here.
He's hurler of the year 3 years ago.
Yeah, and both of these players, and the same is true of Kelly and probably a couple of more in this list, that the opposition, an awful lot of their game plan defensively is around how do we stop this person. I don't care if X, Y, and Z does the scoring, but we're not going to be beaten by Keane Lynch today, or we're not going to be beaten by TJ Reid. And Tipperary obviously can for Keane Lynch, but ultimately, as Tipperary fell apart, Keane Lynch just grew and grew, and he was part of the reason that they grew. Like I wouldn't say he set up the Kyle Hayes goal, because Kyle Hayes ran 90 yards with it, but it was his interplay, his link play. He's getting on the score sheet. He's winning frees constantly. TJ Reid is obviously, there's so much planning goes into stopping him, but Paddy Smith clearly won that battle the last day. In normal time, actually, do I have it here? I just want to see what he scored in normal time against Wexford that day. So
I think it was 4 or 5. I think he 16.
No, it wasn't. It was overall, including extra time. I think it was
16 points altogether. Yeah.
Yeah. So he got 4 from play, 1 in the first half, 2 in the second half, and then 1 in extra time. So he was very good. But Marahanan had a decent game also.
Just interesting, Shane.
Generally, if he wins a battle, his man has also done fairly well too. Look, even go back to last year, Joseph Cooney won that battle, but Reid got the decisive goal. So, I'm trying to talk him down from 2 to 3 here. I'm still saying he's class, but it's just, if we're looking at the fine margins, I think Keane Lynch is just so destructive.
I think it's interesting that the 3 players that we're talking about for 1, 2, and 3 are the 3 most targeted players in the country in many ways. Like the stat, if you're playing against Clare, number 1, who's marking Tony Kelly? If you're playing against Kilkenny, number 2, who's marking TJ? Number 3, if you're playing against Limerick, who's going to pick up Keane Lynch and stop him basically controlling and dictating affairs? So I'm happy with the top 3. Can Lynch jump in at number 2? Jerome Elric did a good job on him when they played against Cork in the first round. In fairness, now,
as good a job as Paddy Smith did on TJ.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, potentially. Yeah, they're both like it's like we're nitpicking to basically decide who's 2 or 3 between two of the greats. The thing about Lynch, I will say, is, and why maybe he deserves to be number 2, is how many years is Keane Lynch going to be hurling for Limerick? Probably another 5 or 6. Do you know how many more years TJ going to be playing for Kilkenny? Listen, he could still be playing for 5 or 6, but I'd say you're looking at maybe more 2 or 3.
Keane Lynch is 25.
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it? He's going to be tormenting Evies and Munster for a long time.
Will you shut up? Leave us alone. No, he has to be number 2 because he's got years of being a top player ahead of him. He's not going to jump in and out of games. He's going to be a 70-minute player for years to come. TJ is still absolutely brilliant. Don't anyone try and confuse my words. He's still absolutely brilliant. But picking between the 2, give me one of them. I'm taking Lynch.
Okay, can I just say as well, it's not as if TJ has fallen down the list. It's just somebody else is just rose above him at the moment, basically.
Yeah. Jack Nulty, Hayes ahead of Kelly and Reid. Are you going on current form? Going on everything, really. Keane Lynch up the list, I'd say. Let's see, what else? Jack Nulty, Kelly, Reid, Hayes in any order. Chris Neville would put Cathal Barrett in there somewhere too, actually. I think Donald Burke is the most underrated hurler in Ireland at the moment. Any thoughts on that? Actually, there's a lot of talk about Jason Ford here. Pat O'Connor, Jason Ford top 3 on current form, and Jimmy Juice's Barrett agrees. Mark Corcoran, freeze sidelines, left and right distant points. Ford has some focus. I get my quote. Yeah.
Can I just say? I'm going to put you on the spot here. Like, as a Tipperary man, like, could you stand over Ford but in the top 10? Because there would have been a train of thought in Tipperary and further afield that potentially that Ford could have been seen somewhat as a liability for maybe his lack of pace in attack. Just saying that's a train of thought. I'm not saying whether it's true or not, but yes, he was brilliant the other day. But he was brilliant for the first half an hour the other day.
Yeah.
The
entire team imploded. So, like, as I said to you before, I'm not sure who you would have necessarily picked as the person to take off. There's definitely changes. Having watched it back, after about 40 minutes when it was very clear that Limerick had taken over, that's when you needed to bring in Cadell Keogh and Brian McGrath, for example, Willie Connors. Get the energy in there. The thing was falling apart. Some of Tipperary's older players were struggling with the pace. We'll put it that way. Obviously, there should have been red cards for Limerick. That's fine. I would rather learn the hard lessons by Limerick keeping those players on the field so that Tip know a little bit more for later on down the line. I think Callanan, and look, there's plenty of comments slating Callanan here. Shane, honestly, take Callanan out of top 10 for good and glory and set up a Callanan fan club to placate your obsession on Facebook or something. Could build a shrine to him in Templemore. Surely he'd want it out in the rag there beside the Drum and Inch Club. But I do think that Seamus Callanan is a player that hasn't had a pre-season, and he definitely struggled with the pace late on. But he never got a good ball into it. And what I kind of thought is, it was like watching Shane Bennett a few years ago when he was outnumbered and all he was doing was just chasing people up front. Remember in the All-Ireland final, all he was doing was basically just chasing people down. That's not.
Just say something on that. Like if you have a team then that's not playing to your strengths, then you're not going to be in the top. You're not going to be in the top 10. You're not going to be as lethal as you were. They were playing to his strengths in 2019, and he was goal a game. He was. Yeah. I think his form has probably peaked at the end of 2019. If you look at 2020, struggling for injury last year, was more of a worker than a scorer maybe outside of that Galway game, and it kind of is like outside of that really, really soft goal that Ever Quilligan let in against Clare. Like he's not lighting it up on the scoreboard, far from it, and he's more of a worker bee at this moment in time and over the past couple of years than the lethal forward that we knew who was nominated for Hurler of the Year 4 times and won it once.
Yeah, I got an email in from Marty Burt who said, any chance you could give the Derry under-17s a mention on your programme? We Derry play Wicklow in the Michael Hogan Celtic Challenge final under-17s in Dublin on Saturday evening. A panel of 32 won the Celtic Challenges in 2018 and 19. No competition, obviously, last year. Ryan O'Neill, Kevin Kelly, myself, and Kate Farron, our physio. We all work with the Derry 20s and are in the All-Ireland Under-20B final versus Meath in a couple of weeks' time. Had to travel to Sligo on Tuesday night, passed and beat them after a tight battle by 7 points. Good luck also to our seniors who play Sligo in the Christy Ring Cup semi-final. Another comment in here, unreal performances this year by Simon Donoghue, Rory O'Connor and Lee Chin. O'Donnell from Dublin was class against well, he obviously means Galway. Tony Kelly still number one, followed closely by TJ Reid. I wouldn't have Jason Ford in the top 10 here. If he did what he did against Limerick 3 or 4 more times, I always thought when Jason Ford came through, right, this is going to be the successor to Callanan in a few years' time, whenever Callanan gets to the stage that he has to retire. But it just hasn't kind of happened for whatever reason. I think if you were to go top wrists in Ireland, he'd be in the top 5. Top free takers in Ireland, he'd be in the conversation for number 1. But I don't think I could have him in here. And I think because Callanan clearly isn't fully fit right now, or being used 100% in the way that Tipperary would want, which is him inside the 14 with the ball in his hand, I think maybe he drops down the list a little bit too here. So he
drops down the list a fair bit, and I can't believe you're not trying to replace a tip man with another tip man.
Yeah, but people accuse me of bias all the time, and I'm just trying to call it. The disrespect of Jason Ford, lads, that's what I'm hearing here.
Oh, no, not disrespecting him, but you're looking at a body of work. Like, Jason Ford was sensational in 2018. Sensational. Yeah. He was brilliant. He turned his body inside out and was in brilliant form. But, like, my memory's a small bit foggy, but, like, how good or bad was he against Clare the first day out?
Who?
Ford.
Let's see. I have the.
I can't actually think offhand. He was absolutely deadly in the first half an hour against Limerick, and almost unmarkable when he was shut down a bit.
I got a couple of points. Yeah, no, they scored 1-3 against. The goal was a penalty. He scored a couple of points from play against Clare, and obviously drove over a sideline as well. It's the second time of asking. Remember, he was made go back. Time. So from place, ball is unbelievable. But
I'm gonna have to see a bit more. I think you are too, and even more consistency.
Yeah, Shane Wall, I'm a Kilkenny man, but you have to mention Ford. In terms of class, I mean, it's not up for consideration. Like, he's absolutely unbelievable hands. And if he did what he did against Limerick a few more times, and a lot of that is based on the team around you, making sure you're on the front foot, he could be as good as anyone, really. And John Hassett, gents, don't overcomplicate the process. If there was a transfer market in the morning, which players would command the highest fees? Look at future potential as well as past performances.
I like the future potential thing, because, like, when you look at it, Keane Lynch and Tony Kelly still have massive future potential, particularly Lynch. TJ Reid maybe not as much. We probably need to start going down this. We think we're happy with our top 3 at the moment.
Yeah, Keane Lynch has 2 All-Irelands and a great highlight reel. Been way more consistent than TK if you look at them since 2017. Same with Ford, says Mark Corcoran.
Yeah, but you're taking in a body of work that Kelly has done since 13 or just before.
12 even. He scored a 21-yard free against Dublin in 2012 down in Cusack Park. Yeah. Not sure if there's a goalkeeper, but probably should. Shane Wall adds in. Owen Murphy, obviously a brilliant keeper. Well, actually, especially with the importance of puck-outs distribution. That is a very fair point.
I'd argue that Nicky Quaid is more important as regards distribution of puck-outs, but...
Yeah, Shane Wall, I'm from Limerick and I'll take TJ every day and 10 times on Sunday. He does not miss. And first words Shane spoke as a baby was Callanan. Okay. Yeah, well, look, he went to the same school as me. Fine, I'm a few years older, but look, I like to see the lads who went to school in Burris doing well. Why wouldn't I? Kyle Hayes sneaks probably is in 5th. Potential as well, reinventing the wing-back position. That's true. He is.
Yeah, I think, like...
As is Caleb Lyons. And Caleb Lyons did it first.
Is
Caleb Lyons in the top 10?
Not on what I've seen in this year's championship.
Yeah.
Like,
well, look at how Watford changed once he went into wing-back against Clare.
Yeah, I know, but he has a massive upside, as they always say. But I just don't, like... You're looking at what Hayes has done since being man of the match in the 2018 All-Ireland final as a centre forward. Lyons has only kind of come on the scene in the last 2 to 3 years. Had a brilliant season last year.
What have you got against Watford?
I have absolutely nothing. Someone said that I got a comment the other day saying that someone from Waterford must have killed my goldfish or something like that. Far from it. But if we're going down the list a small bit, we're happy with our top three. It's Kelly 1, Lynch 2, Reid 3. If you're looking at what we had left from the last day, we haven't talked about Seamus Callanan 3, Dottie Burke 4, Sean Finn 5, Joe Canning 6. Keane Lynch has obviously gone up. Like, where does Kyle Hayes come into the conversation here? I'd say.
Well, does he go ahead of Pádraig Mannion?
Oh, yeah. At the moment, yeah, you'd have to say he does.
So Pádraig Mannion is probably dropping out of this top 10, even though you and I have celebrated him as much as anybody. Yeah,
no, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so Mannion, unfortunately, maybe Cathal Mannion might be saying, "Where am I in this conversation?" Does Patrick Horgan slip out of the top 10?
No, I don't think he slips out of the top 10 based on one game.
Do you want Seamus Callanan out?
Of the top 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably do. Realistically, yeah. I do, yeah.
From 3 to outside the top 10?
Yeah, they've played 2 games and he's been ineffective in both.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose a bit like Joe Canning one, I was thinking maybe that form will come back. And like, he was good against Clare. Like, I think he's done more in the 2 games, but he doesn't look like he's 100%. So he'll drop down the list here. I think Joe Canning, his performance last day was so bad.
But he'll drop down. I think he'll still stay in it just about.
I think Canning will do well to stay in the top 10 because his form last season and this year in the championship just hasn't been right. And last year was his worst ever game. So, or last time out was his worst ever game. So, I mean, tell me I'm wrong.
If I could still take, outside of the top 3, if I could still take a player, to hurl Offaly in the morning, to play, a big match or whatever, he'd still be very, very high on my list. If I could take a player for the next 10 years or the next 5 years, that's a different conversation. That's you want a Kyle Hayes or you want a Keane Lynch.
If you're taking me and Callanan down, I'm bringing someone down with me. By the way, also, Aaron Gallan, look at the way he changed the game the last day when he came on.
Yeah, I can't have him in the top 10 conversation though, Shane.
Okay, who's number 4 then? What about Daithí Burke, Sean Finn?
Daithí Burke probably has to drop down 1 or 2, I'd say. I'd still keep him in the top 10, definitely, but I think he has to drop down 1 or 2. I think, I'd be happy as
Ozzy.
Ozzy comes far more into the top 10 debate now. He's done it when Waterford haven't been going well, so I've no issue there. We're just saying that Pádraig Mannion probably misses out, and Callanan will miss out. So there's 2 kind of spots open.
Okay, what about Sean Finn? Sean Finn and Daithí Burke were number 4 and 5 the last day. Daithí 4, Sean 5. So Sean Finn is still absolutely brilliant. Jack O'Connor got a few scores off him the last day, but I don't think he's necessarily dropping down that far. I think Ozzy is very high up here. Like, the lad does it whether he's in the forwards or the backs and has been doing it since 2014.
I don't think he's very high up. I think he makes the top 10. I
think he's higher up than Kyle Hayes.
No, I disagree, Shane.
Get your comments in, people.
I disagree.
Sean Finn, number 4? I think he's looked more impressive than Daithí Burke has this season.
Yeah, no, it's kind of nearly a toss-up whether Hayes goes in at 4 and Sean Finn 5 or vice versa. I like the fact that we're lauding defenders as well.
Yeah,
the easy thing to do is put 10 free takers in here. Like,
yeah. I'm going with Sean Finn. He's just. Oh, then again, Kyle Hayes is so devastating. Do you know what? He wins games for you from wing back. The other lad makes sure you don't lose them.
Yeah.
But I think other people can do the marking jobs. Maybe not to his level. Yeah, okay. Kyle Hayes, number 4. Sensationally.
Yeah, I think Hayes is reinventing that position, I would say. Like, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. You were mentioned about Callum Lyons, but like, Hayes is just doing it. Like, he's doing it so consistently now. He's only been playing wing back for a year. You know?
Oh, yeah. I know. I'm probably brilliant in pretty much every game. Okay,
we're probably going to be Limerick centre back going forward as well.
Yeah, and actually we haven't mentioned Declan Hannon, but I don't think either of us necessarily have him in this, even though we both think he's brilliant.
No, and I thought he was caught for toe for the 2 goals the last day as well.
I love caught for toe.
Yeah, he's a brilliant player, obviously.
Austin Gleeson, would you put him ahead of Daithí Burke? I think Daithí Burke's brilliant and has been for a long time, but I'd be inclined to put, where does Sean Finn, Ozzy Gleeson?
You're putting Hayes in 4, yeah?
I've Hayes in as 4, yeah.
Okay. Dahi Burke, Sean Finn. I can't have Ozzy ahead of either of those two, being honest with you.
Okay.
Dahi Burke's a 5-time All-Star. He's the best. If he's not the best fullback in the game, he's the joint best fullback in the game. And then you have the best cornerback in the game. Ozzy is brilliant, but in many ways, his versatility might even hurt him here.
Yeah, but nobody else could do what he's doing, which is going wing back one day, unbelievable 4 points from play, full forward the next day, snapping balls, scoring points. I know they'd expect to beat Laois, but still.
Yeah, I still
brilliant last year.
I still, yeah.
Yeah, Michael Verney's just dropped off there again. So just a reminder, the top 10 last year was, or a couple of weeks ago, was Tony Kelly, TJ, Seamus Callanan, Dahi Burke, Sean Finn, Joe Canning, Patrick Horgan, Keane Lynch, Pádraig Mannion was number 10. Go Grode Hegarty at number 9. Look, we can't leave him out either. Donald Farrell, keep TJ as long as you can. Owen Cody is the Prince of Ballyhale. Henry is surely King of Ballyhale, but TJ is God of Ballyhale. Let's not lose the head after 1 or 2 games, says the lads. Oh yeah, Callanan out. Where does you rank TJ in terms of Kilkenny greats? We'll have to come to that another day. It's another segment and on its own right. Ozzy has to be top 6. Ozzy has to be top 6, says Liam Ryan. Kudos to Alan Nolan. He's a good goalie. Kyle Hayes should be number 4, says Hughie Kennedy. We have gone with that. Rumour has it that Stapo got Callanan as a stamp tramp playing the way to beat us.
Oh, I love it. People are going to town. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Mark Horgan should have been taken off against Limerick Freeze that day. Dahi Burke 6th, Ozzy 7th. Talking about present time, Verney, Ozzy is ahead of Dahi Burke. Yeah, look, I would put Ozzy a little bit ahead. I just think Dahi is absolutely brilliant, but I'm just not kind of sure if he's quite at the level of last year. He might change it around, but I put Ozzy ahead. I put Sean Finn 5.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I put Ozzy 6.
I personally think he's too far up the list. I think he's done enough to be 8 or 9. I don't think he's done enough to be 6.
Okay, so then the options we have are
Dahi Burke has a much better body of work over the last, since he really burst on that scene in, what are we talking about, 14, 15. He's a much better body of work than Ozzy. Okay,
let's go with Dahi Burke then at number 6. Number 7 then, are we looking at, I think Patrick Horgan might drop out of top 10 here, because I'm even looking at, I'm looking at Ozzy, I'm looking at Owen O'Donnell, and I just don't see where Horgan, I think Horgan and Joe Canning are going to be under pressure, because Grode Hegarty's in here also.
Yeah, is there anybody else outside of that we're missing? To me, as good as he is, don't think Lee Chin comes into the conversation.
Yeah, Liam Rush was mentioned too, but I think he's had a couple of good games, but I'm not quite sure he's in here.
He's not. He actually played really well the other day. When I looked at it again, but I don't think he comes into this conversation here. If you're John Collins says Tony Kelly number 1 and Ozzy has been top 5. Don't think Ozzy can come in from the cold. He's done enough to come into that. Someone said, remember Callanan being number 2. I do remember it. It was hard work to get him to make sure he wasn't number 2. There's a lot of guys that are going to have points to prove to us over the next couple of weeks, and I'm sure they will.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, Grode Hegarty, he's had a very poor first half against Tipperary, but he kind of imposed himself after that. Tom Morrissey, believe it or not, scored 5 from play. You wouldn't think it.
Brilliant.
Watch the back, he was brilliant.
And when they were going poorly, he was brilliant.
Yeah. So Austin Gleeson, I put in after Dahi here.
Yeah, that's Austin Gleeson at 6 or 7. 7.
7.
Okay, so we've 3 left. Grode Hegarty has to come into that. I'd be happy with Owen O'Donnell being in the top 10. I definitely would.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of 8, 9, 10 here, I think some of the older players. I think if Callanan's dropping out, I'd say there's no reason that Joe Canning and Patrick Horgan mightn't drop out either. It's funny,
3 absolute all-time greats.
Without doubt.
All in poor form at the moment, and we, just not how many of them will still be hurling inter-county in 2 to 3 years?
Arguably, maybe only 1, maybe none. I'm not 100% sure, but I think if Gleeson is 7, Grode Hegarty 8. Who else do we have? Owen O'Donnell 9, maybe.
Does Grode Hegarty deserve to be up a place? He was 9 the last time. Does he deserve to move up a place?
Well, the thing is, Austin Gleeson is coming out of nowhere into 7th, and
yeah, but he. I'm just saying he's done a lot to deserve that. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's a fair point. It is a fair point.
Has Patrick Horgan done enough in one game to deserve moving out of the top 10?
Well, he was poor, and this is the thing. Some players have had 3 games this season. He's had 1.
Yeah, yeah. It's a difficult one. I don't think we should be overly harsh. I don't think we should be overly harsh to probably Horgan and Canning in particular, because they've only played 1 game.
Yeah, but look, as Will says here, if you're taking Callanan out based on his last 2 performances, then you should at least consider Liam Rush based on his. Pa O'Connor, come on, lads. No way Seamus Flanagan near the top 10, top 50, maybe. So are you saying Canning, Horgan, and Callanan? Are you saying all 3 go out, or are you making a case for one of them? Was Horgan? How good was Horgan last season?
Remember, he got that great goal against Tip down in the Spills or Rain down in Limerick.
Very quiet otherwise. Callanan, was fairly quiet last year. Did get that goal against Galway.
But let's call it we've been mad. Canning was the quietest of them all, probably.
If you had one of those players, if you could have one of those players starting for you tomorrow out of the 3, I'd take Callanan.
I'd take Canning.
Callanan with his 37 championship goals, the other 2 lads from play, his are all from play. They can't come anywhere near him. They're probably about half that.
I'd still take Canning.
I'm taking Callanan. So then we've got Tony, Keane Lynch, TJ, Kyle Hayes, Sean Finn, Dahi Burke, Austin Gleeson. Man,
3 places left, yeah?
Yeah. Now, Chris Neville says still overlooking Donald Burke. I think he's really good, but
Donald Burke's a brilliant player. Yeah, he's a brilliant player, but as regards, coming up against some of the greatest of all time here,
Yeah, we're about to do a power rankings, and I think we're going to have Tipperary number 2, and we're saying that there's nobody in the top 10 from Tipperary.
We're going to have Tipperary number 2 in the power rankings. We're definitely not.
Tip are clearly number 2 in the power rankings, and you're saying
number 2 in Munster, all right. Number 1 in our hearts.
Yeah. Look. Right, come on, we have to settle this. So,
okay,
where's Owen O'Donnell going in for you?
He's at 10.
10, okay.
Garrod Hegarty at 9.
Garrod Hegarty at 9. And then who's number 8? So
either Patrick Horgan, Seamus Callanan, who I don't think should be in the top 10 at the moment, or Joe Canning. For me, it's either Horgan or Canning.
Yeah, look, Horgan, very poor the last day. They were, this is so difficult. This is so difficult. By the sounds of your comments, you're now basing the ratings on current form. That's different from what you said at the beginning. I would have said it's everything. It's what you've seen before, what you've seen currently, how you think they do against each other's teams. Does Jason Ford get it? Maybe it's Jason Ford. Maybe it's Lee Chin. Maybe it's Rory O'Connor. Do you know what? I think it's Rory O'Connor.
No, he was very quiet the other day, Shane.
Yeah, I suppose I'm just
he's a massive. You have to balance it off with current form, lads that are in brilliant form, and lads that have a massive upside like Rory O'Connor, who could be playing for Wexford for the next 10 years. And then you have a Joe Canning, who is a massive body of work since we're going back to 2008, and Seamus Callanan, something similar, Patrick Horgan, something similar. One of those should still be still need to be on the list.
Yeah.
We overlooked Owen O'Donnell last day, but we from the top 10, but we have said for a couple of years that he's one of, if not the best fullbacks in the country. So it's not, he was brilliant against Antrim. He was brilliant against Galway. He was obviously injured the last day, but it's not, a wild leap to put him in at 10. It would be a massive leap to leave out Horgan, Canning and Callanan. Particularly to me, it would be a massive leap to leave out Horgan or Canning.
Okay, well look, I'll let you make the pick here. I don't agree with it. I think it should be Canning, but I'll let you make the pick.
I'll go Canning, yeah.
Okay, so that makes our top 10. Tony Kelly 1, Keane Lynch 2, TJ 3, Kyle Hayes 4, Sean Finn 5, 6 is Dahi Burke, 7 Gleeson, 8 Joe Canning, 9 Garrod Hegarty, and 10 Owen O'Donnell. So keep the comments coming in, let us know, and we'll be reviewing this again in another couple of weeks' time.
Number 1, Tony Kelly will be presented with this absolute beauty. Number 1, He'll be when they start back in Flannans in September, August. He'll be walking around with this bad boy on his shoulder.
Will you present it to him half time of the Cork match on Saturday? You will. Join the OurGame Supporters Club at Patreon for €5 per month to get audio podcasts of the Hurling and Football Show and much more exclusive material.